feel free to fire away and let it roll and let the interview commence.
Excellent, excellent. All right, very good. Hello, everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am very excited today. I am chatting with Karl Willetts of Memoriam and Bolt Thrower, legendary death metal singer. Thank you so much for joining me, Karl. This is great to be chatting with you.
Brews and Tunes. That's what it's all about, mate. So yeah, really, really pleased to be able to have this opportunity to have a little chat with you across the sea, across the globe, here from in sunny Birmingham. I'm here in Birmingham, and the sunny shot. We've got about 31 degrees today, which is great for the UK. It's usually pissing down with rain all the time. So to have a bit of a heat wave is a glorious thing. It's almost like being on holiday, because we can't go on holiday. It's like being on holiday. So it's quite nice to sit here and have a few beers and chat to you about life in general.
Excellent, excellent. And speaking of beers, you are a craft beer lover, or I guess in England it's real beer. Is that the terminology correct? Not craft beer, real beer?
No. We call it artisan craft beer over here as well.
Artisan craft beer. Okay.
I mean, you get your Canberra, which is the old school kind of like kind of real ale, and that's kind of like that's a different kind of thing really. That's been going on for years and years and years. It's got but the new wave of craft beer, it seems to be like sweeping the globe. That's it's only been really going here for about past 5-10 years or so, but it's really picked up a pace now, and it's a little kind of like thing that's kind of like captured my imagination and captured my interests and my taste buds, and I really enjoy my craft beer. I do like to try and sample. I know what I like. I'm very much a connoisseur of strong IPAs. IPAs is my thing. I've got 3 rules to my consumption of IPA and my drinking behaviour. It's always in moderation. Right. I never really drink more than 2 cans of it a night. Every night, but my rules. I've got 3 strict rules. 3 strict. The first rule is 1. It's got to be stronger than 5%, otherwise it's not worth it.
All right, nice.
2. It's got to be cloudy or have an edge to it. The taste. It's got to be hoppy, very hoppy. Yeah. And 3, it's got to have a ridiculous name. Those 3 rules. Usually 2 out of the 3.
I like it.
But those are my 3 rules of consumption of craft beer.
Excellent.
Over 5%, cloudy, stupid name. Those 3 are the 3. If it ticks all 3 of those boxes, I'm going to like it. Absolutely. So,
what are you drinking? What are you drinking this evening?
This evening, I am drinking. Well, I've just finished off one, which is this one. Can you see through my dystopian nightmare? It's called Even Robot's Dream, which is made by a brewer. It's 8% ABV, so it ticks the box. It's got Even Robot's Dream, stupid name. It's cloudy, and it's made in England. Pressure Drop, where are they based? Oh, they're based, I don't know, somewhere in N17, in London somewhere. So brewed in London, it says there, since 2013. So that's that one I've just finished. Very nice. I'm now moving on to an Alpha Delta. It's called Sota, which is nice. It's a bit weaker. 7%.
All right.
Still ticks the box though, and again, that's a nice one, brewed up in Newcastle, up north in the UK. So there you go. And after a hard day, it's grafting in the office, doing my normal day job. It's really nice to unwind and relax. With a couple of nice, beer ales, real craft beer. That's the way it should be. And in the sunshine, it's even especially nice as well. So
yeah.
What is it you're drinking then?
I am drinking a White Salamander from Level Crossing Brewing Company here in Utah.
Okay.
And this is an 8.2% fruited hazy double IPA.
It fulfills all of the criteria in my list. You are a man cut from the same cloth as me. Good man.
Exactly. Yes, I'm glad to
drink to White Salamander.
All right. Cheers, my friend. Yeah, I'm glad that I could.
I mean, it's great to have these kind of connections with this kind of interest.
Yeah, exactly.
Across the globe, you know, it's a global thing. You know, it's the whole craft beer thing has really picked up, and I find it quite exciting. It's pretty much like it's like the underground death metal scene back in the 1980s in many respects. You know, you find a beer, you find a band that you like that no one's heard of, or a few people have heard of, and you drink it and you share it. Very much like how it was back in the day, doing a demo band that no one had heard of before, listening to it, loving it, and then sharing that with. So, you know, there are many parallels.
That's a great idea. That's a great analogy. I love that. Yeah, that kind of like the old tape trading days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's great, you know. I think as you get older, that's where you kind of, for me, music-wise, yeah, I still love my underground death metal, but yeah, I find it quite difficult these days to engage. I'm so a bit old now, so I don't really get to listen to a lot of things. And a lot of things I do listen to, without any disrespect, there's some great stuff coming out, brilliant stuff, always great stuff coming out. But yeah, a lot of it, I've kind of heard it before, you know, and I've heard it done better by the original bands that did in the first place. So yeah, for me, craft beer is my new death metal, if you know what I mean.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's talk about what you've been up to recently. So obviously earlier this year, just a few months ago, this fantastically brilliant album was released.
The one that's
yes, your background.
That's the one. I am in a world of Dan Seagrave.
Yes.
A dystopian nightmare future. Absolutely. I mean, that was released. We recorded that back in last October-ish time, 2020, and it was released in March 2021. And it's to the end, a big step forward for us as a band. You know, it's kind of like had been received, critically acclaimed by. It reached number 9 in the national network charts in Germany.
Excellent.
Which is incredible for a band of our kind of like ilk in our genre, right, to reach those kind of dizzy heights of I think we entered the charts above Neil Young. You know,
wow.
I think we only stayed there for about a week, but to achieve that kind of like status is incredible, you know, and we're really pleased with the way the new album's been received by both the public and the media and the press and everything. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal, interesting past 12 months for the band. You know, a lot of things have happened, and to the end is the result of that. We're very proud and pleased with the way it's been received and the way it's going.
Yeah, it's a brilliant album. From start to finish, it's very engaging. I mean, it sucked me right in from those opening notes all the way to the end. I've listened to it, since it's been released. I've listened to it multiple times, and I'm an album guy. I listen to albums. I don't listen to songs. I listen to albums.
That's the key. That is the key. You know, I think these days in the the kind of where attention spans are kind of like very, very limited. You know, people tend to pick out tracks, so they kind of go on Spotify, pick one track and whatever. Yeah. It's very. But the albums are supposed to be listened to in their entirety. They follow a journey. You know, we as a band, we kind of like. We record these songs and we kind of put them in a kind of order where they kind of flow and tell a story in many respects, and kind of like all bind together to make it as a whole. And when you just pick out the odd track here and there, you kind of miss the meaning of and the feel of what it's supposed to achieve. So yeah, I mean, one of the key terms I think that you can apply to this new album that we've created with To the End is the term diversity. You know, it is a very diverse album in many respects, probably more so than any album we've done previously. You know, I think with the last album, Requiem for Mankind, which was released a couple of years back, I haven't done anything since then, due to COVID. But that was that for us. That was almost like us finding our blueprint for how the sound that we wanted to create, very much to do with involving and going to Pappila Studios and working with Russ Russell. You know, he's a good friend of ours. We've always wanted to to work with him, but our schedules never really kind of like fitted out. But when it came to Requiem for Mankind, we made sure that we went to Pappila Studios and we worked with Russ, you know, and the way we work with Russ is that he's almost become kind of the integral like fifth member of the band in many respects, because he kind of gets involved with the songs at a very early stage when we're actually writing them. So he's part of our little Dropbox group, you know. So when we kind of demo a song or get the riff ideas, he'll have a listen to it. So he'll hear it when it's being developed at a very early embryonic stage of its development. So he's got a really good idea and a feel for the songs from that point onwards. And when we go to the studios, when they're more, you know, completed, when we kind of got an idea of what we want to do, he'll know what he wants to achieve with those songs as well. So he adds this whole different layer of kind of like opinion and sound to it, which really enhances what we're doing. And that really worked well with Requiem for Mankind. And yeah, so we went into the studio, the same studio, back to work with Russ for this new album To the End, and we could have very easily just done a Requiem for Mankind Part 2. We could have like followed that blueprint to the T. But, you know, we are a band that are, you know, we're not afraid of trying out new ideas. And, you know, yeah, sometimes it will work. We've done it in the past. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know, but we are not afraid to try out these new ideas. And that's what we're about. We're always about kind of constantly kind of like evolving and working on new ideas. So this new album, To the End, really contains a lot of new kind of like elements, new flavors and tastes and textures and levels that we've never really kind of like, you know, gone down or never really kind of like explored before. So, you know, there's some songs on there that have got like a real slow, epic doom. That was close with your laptop there, Oliver.
Yeah.
Nearly dropped it. So some songs on there that contain some really slow, epic doom metal kind of like tracks, which we've never done anything like that in the past. You know, like Each Step, One Close to the Grave, one of my favourite tracks off the album. You know, it's got a different element. As My Heart Grows Cold, which is probably my favourite song that we've recorded to date. For me personally, yeah, it's probably my favourite song that I've ever done. You know, Mass Psychosis has got a really, you know, totally different feel to it than anything we've ever done before, with a massive kind of like, you know, Killing Joke kind of influence to it. So yeah. So with this new album, diversity is the key. We've tried out lots of new ideas, and it's kind of all worked. It's all come together and worked in a really positive way. And yeah, I think people have received that and accepted that and are getting into it, you know, which is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, and as you mentioned, that's one thing that's so great about the album is that diversity. I mean, you know, the tempo changes, as you mentioned, you know, kind of doom death elements, and then also you know old school fast paced death metal as well. It's a really exciting album.
It's all in there from start to go, you know, and the 8 tracks that feature on the album are kind of like, you know, it's interesting because at the moment we're trying in the process of trying to pull together a live set, you know. Obviously we've got to use some of the old songs off the last 3 albums that we've done. So we can't do all of these 8 songs off the new album in our live set. So it's really hard to pick, you know, which ones get selected, which ones get cast to the side to play within the set, because the set's got to contain elements, 50%, 50, at least 50-50. So we picked 4 new songs. 4 the newer songs won't get played. So it's a pleasurable place to be in. You know, it's quite kind of it's great to be in that position. And yeah, I think once we've kind of like got our basic kind of 1 hour set in place, which we have now, you know, then once we've got that in place, then we might roll forward and pull out some of the other songs, you know, and kind of change it around a bit once we've done that. But yeah, it's a great place to be in. You know, we're very, very privileged to be in this position. You know, it's been an incredible journey. You know, we've only been doing this band for like 5 years, and we've got 4 albums out in such a relative short space of time. It's been an incredible pace of delivery that we're moving forward. You know, we're not resting on our laurels. we are already in the process of writing new material for album number 5, for example. We're basically trying to achieve as much as we can while we can, you know, while we've still got the mental and physical capability to do so.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, I was, yeah. I mean, the fact that as you mentioned, I mean, you know, the band Memoriam was formed in 2015, and yeah, as you mentioned, you've already put out 4 albums. It's very prolific, especially in this day and age where, I mean, it will be years between albums for many bands, where you kind of taken more of an old school, like kind of 1970s hard rock approach. You know, I remember, you know, like Kiss or somebody like that, you know, they were pumping out albums,
well, yeah,
you know,
I mean,
every year almost.
This is the way it was, you know, back in the late 80s. You know, when we were kind of riding the crest of the wave and starting this new kind of like form of music, which has now been, you know, designated as old school death metal. It wasn't old school back then. It was just death metal. In fact, we didn't know what it was. We were just doing what we were doing because we enjoyed doing it. And you know, we kind of did albums every year, every other year. And I think with bands, as they kind of like go on, you know, not many bands last for 30 years. You know, Bolt Thrower did. You know, and that's a sterling achievement and a legacy that will, you know, be left behind, and very hard for a lot of other bands to achieve that. You know, and but you know, kind of like in the early days, we were kind of like churning out albums every year, every other year. You know, for the first 5-6 years of the band's existence. And in a way, that's what we're trying to do with Memoriam. We're trying to recreate that feel of creativity and that drive and that enthusiasm that we had back then. You call it a midlife crisis, life crisis, whatever you want to call it. But that's where we're at. We're trying to kind of get back to that feeling and create that feeling of joy of creation. You know, which you kind of tend to lose, you know, what over years when you're in a band for such a long time, that kind of fire, that desire to want to release new albums, and that kind of like, you know, and that need in a way to kind of like, you know, release new material kind of like falls off a little bit, and the creativity falls aside. But we've still got that with Memoriam, and that's the thing that drives me, and I'm really kind of I enjoy that process. You know, for me, in a way, being in a band, you know, it's all about that creativity and that writing new material. Words, to me, the lyrics and writing lyrics is really, really the key to what being in a band's all about for me. And yeah, I'm really enjoying that. Yeah, we're in a very, very privileged position. You know, 30 odd years of doing this. It's been incredible. It's been an incredible journey. And you know, if you asked me as a young nipper back in 88, 89, when I was 21, whether I'd be doing this when I was 54, 55, which I am now, I'd have probably laughed and said, there's absolutely no way, you know. But yeah, here I am, still doing it, still enjoying it, probably even more so now than I ever have done, because I think I appreciate it for what it is. You know, I kind of like, I had a few years of not doing it. Yeah, I left Bolt Thrower in 1994, and then I rejoined again in 2004. So I had 10 years of not doing this kind of thing as well. So I kind of, you know, and I kind of missed it. You know, I wasn't really bothered for the first few years because I was busy. But you know, as time went on, you know, I was always referred to as Karl Bolt Thrower, even when I wasn't doing Bolt Thrower, which was a little bit irksome, but it is what it is. You know, people have a lot of reverence for the band and what we achieved and the legacy that we've created. So, you know, having that opportunity to go back to Bolt Thrower in 2004 and do the last album, Those Once Loyal, was incredible. Yeah, and it's something that you know, I didn't want to give up. You know, when Martin Kitty Kearns died, he passed away in 2015, you know, and it kind of put me in a position where I had to make some choices about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And having had that time away from doing it and knowing how much I missed it, I wanted to continue. You know, I knew that one of the main key things I wanted to do with my life was continue being in a band, and that's why I carried on with Memoriam and create this new entity that we are. And as I say, here we are, 5 years down the line. It's incredible. It's gone so fast. And we are on album number 4. moving swiftly towards album number 5. So it's great. It's incredible.
It's very cool. I wanted to ask you about what is the writing process like with Memoriam? Is it a collaborative effort? Is it, does somebody come up with riffs first? Or are you coming up with lyrics first? Kind of what's the writing process with you and the band?
Yeah, the process has always been the same for me. It's always about the riff. The riff and the hook is always the key to the song, So it's very, very driven by the guitar. So in this respect, in previous, my previous life, it was very much driven by Baz and the riffs that he came up with. He was the driving entity of Bolt Thrower, and it was all based around what he came up with, and the songs were structured around those riffs. And with Memoriam, it's very much the same kind of like process in many respects. So Scott, he's the principal riff writer. He comes up with all the cool, catchy riffs that work really, really well. So we all kind of write around that. So there are some very big similarities, a lot of differences, obviously, but there are some big similarities into the way the process of the way that the songs are created. I think maybe there's a little bit more collaborative effort put into what we do with Memoriam, and in many respects, the canvas is a lot more blank, and I'm not tied to specifically writing songs about war, which is great. In the past it was great, but it was quite restrictive. And in a way, that's possibly why the albums, the creativity kind of like waned a little bit over the years. But now, I've got like a whole. I can write one about. I can write songs about anything that I feel that is important, and so I can inject songs about life in general. I can write songs about more overtly about politics, which I do on a general basis. And I think I've got to this point in my life now, 30 odd years into it, where I can write songs which are more strongly about life in general and the experiences that we all go through in life. I don't think I could have done that 20, 30 years ago, because I was young, and hadn't had all these experiences. I hadn't suffered all these loss and love and loss and death and mourning and things like that. But now that I'm in my mid-50s, I've experienced a lot, so I can draw on those influences and create lyrics that are based upon these subjects that kind of I think they resonate with people as well, because I think a lot of people that listen to our music have grown up, with us as well. So it's been a kind of like we've all kind of grown together, since we were kids, and now we're, 30 years down the line, we're still there, we're still doing it. So I think the experiences resonate with a lot of people that we listen, our fan base or followers or friends, whatever you want to call them, and that's what works so well with what we're doing. They're very kind of like there's an element of truth in there, and that people can kind of like fix to and refer to and draw reference to their own lives as well. So it's always about the riff. It's always will be about the riff. Frank brings his bass playing into the structure. He's really good at structuring songs. So Scott will come up with a riff. Frank will be really good at kind of like structuring it, coming up with like maybe the start bit or the middle bridging section, and structuring the song as a whole. The drummer will come in and then he'll interpret, is that a word? Interpret the song and bring his own kind of like drumming style into it, which is another element which has changed recently as well. You may have noticed. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, we've got a new drummer for the new album, which has changed things considerably. Whale had to leave because he had some physical issues with his shoulder. Devastated in a way, because Wales my best mate. He always will be. He's one of the reasons I started doing Memoriam in the first place, was the chance to work with Whale again. But he had to move on, and he's okay. He's getting better. His shoulders are recovering now, and he's starting doing a few different projects that he's doing himself. He's doing Darkened, and I've heard that he's doing a new little project called Death Collector, which will be great, But we've got to move forward with Memoriam. We've got a new drummer in, Spike T. Smith, who has a very impressive CV, he's played with all the bands that have been highly influential to me in the past. You know, Sacrilege for a start, The Damned, English Dogs, Killing Joke, you name it. He's played with them, and having him involved in the music has kind of also added this new level of it's added a different tone and texture to what we do. You know, no detriment to Whale, you know, because what he did, he's fantastic and he's a great drummer. But Spike just he does it in a different way, and it's added a different kind of like layer to what we're doing, which is, you know, really put this new album up there on a different level in many respects. So but yeah, so yeah, he brings that. You know, the new album we're going to be recording now, obviously Spike's going to bring his influences to it as well, but the lyrics are always last. Yeah, I always lay the lyrics down once I've heard the song in its entirety, and I've got a feel of what it's about, how it feels, and that'll kind of inspire me to write the words around the feel of the song, really. And that's the way it's always been, you know, from when I first started doing it in 88, 89, whatever it was, to this point in time. That's the way it works for me. And, you know, it's the structure and the process that works. So, yeah, we're going to stick to that. God, that was a long answer to a short question, wasn't it?
No, that was great. That was fascinating. That was really interesting. And you mentioned Frank Healy. So you actually had worked with him in the past, because you have a long history with doing guest vocals with Benediction, you know, for like multiple years.
Yes, I am a vocal whore. If anyone ever asks me to do something, I'll do it. No, that's not the case. I do get asked probably about once or twice a day, in reality, whether I do some guest vocals on people's stuff, and I do turn down probably about 95% of the offers, you know, that I get, because if I did accept every single offer that I got, I'll be working every day of the year, you know, doing vocals on someone else's album, and that's not really what I want to do. But I will do things that I like the idea of. So yeah, working with Benediction, you know, was always a great thing to do, because they're good friends of ours. You know, kind of we came from the same town, we come from the same kind of like stable, and we always used to tour with them as well. We always have a really, really good time on the road with Benediction. So yeah, I've featured on several Benediction albums throughout the ages. Yeah, see what I did there? And yeah, it's always been a glorious pleasure to do that, you know. And so yeah, so I mean, the relationship I've got with Frank is incredible, really, because we've always, yeah, from a very early age, we always used to go to the Mermaid in Birmingham, where all the old punk hardcore gigs were. And we always, you know, kind of like he was in Sacrilege, and then he was in Benediction, Cerebral Fix, and then he was in Benediction, and I was in Bolt Thrower. And yeah, we've always kind of, our paths have always crossed. You know, we've gone on tour with each other loads of times, and yeah, we always used to go same pubs, same clubs, and virtually every time throughout the past 30 years of our friendship, we always used to talk about, yeah, we've got to do a band together. Yeah, it'd be great, it'd be brilliant. And we just never did it, because, you know, he was busy doing what he was doing, I was busy doing what I was doing, and just the opportunity to do that never happened. So when it came to me making the decision that I wanted to start a new band, you know, after Kitty passed away, and I wanted to get Whale involved and wanted to play drum into being a band with Whale again. Yeah, Scott, I mean, I didn't really know Scott, but he was kind of involved with Benediction because he played with Benediction in South America, so we knew he was a competent guitarist. So we got him involved. But yeah, Frank, I'm talking about Frank, of course. I had to get Frank. Yeah, he had to be the bass player in the band, because that's. I think he probably killed me if I didn't ask him. He'd been really pissed off. So yeah, he was a natural first person that I really wanted to get involved with the band, because, you know, his experience of the industry as well is second to none. You know, what he brings to the band is not only just being a bass player, but his organisational skills when it comes to being the artist liaison officer with a record label and organising the tours. That's what he does. We all bring our different skills and abilities to Memoriam and do our different things. Not only are we just musicians in the band, we do all the administrative things in the background as well. So yeah, it's great to be able to work with Frank, and obviously bring in Scott, which has brought a breath of fresh air, because obviously we are more of the old grind, 1980s, late 80s, grind metal, right, whatever you want to call it. And Scott's, he's 10 years younger, so he's a different generation to us. So he brings a whole sphere of different influences into the music. He's into a lot of different bands that I've probably never heard of or never really want to listen to. And that's what adds the element and creates Memoriam and the sound that what we're doing as well. So yeah, it's very interesting blend of ideas, both on the stage and off the stage as well. That makes the whole bandwagon roll so successfully.
Yeah, nice, very cool. Yeah, I was going to say that the album, I mean, obviously it's it's brutal, it's death metal, it's doom death metal stuff, but it's a very textured album. There's a lot of layers texturally to the sound, and yeah, it's interesting that you said that Scott is younger and he has these other influences, because you can hear that there are different influences. Because that's the cool thing, is it's almost it's a very timeless album in a lot of ways, where it sounds fresh and new, but there's also the nod to the older sounds of the late 80s and early 90s, but it's not nostalgic. It's it feels kind of fresh in many respects here, because we are drawing on all these different elements of and the influences that have made us who we are and created our own sense of identity through that, and we're kind of pulling it together, and it just creates this whole new kind of like feel to what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, I'd be prepared for us to kind of like push on from there as well with the next album. We kind of like enjoyed this kind of like what we're doing, right, with this to the end. And I think the creativity, what we're doing, is definitely going to continue and push the boundaries of what we're doing. I don't think we're going to ever be sitting on our laurels and kind of like accepting for what it is. We're always going to try out new ideas and try different things. And say we are prepared to take those risks and try these things. I say it may not work sometimes, but yeah, that's at the end of the day, we're just kind of like doing it for ourselves, really. We're just doing something that we love doing, that we want to create, and the fact that other people kind of quite like it or don't, that's fine. That's fine with us. We're just doing it for ourselves at the end of the day. It's just a purely egocentric kind of like a trip that we're doing just to please ourselves. I think we'd be quite happy if we were just in the rehearsal room, just doing it for ourselves. The fact that we've got a record label on us and we kind of like releasing records and people tend to like it and buy it, that's brilliant. But we'd still be doing this if that wasn't the case. Totally. Yeah. Well, yeah, keep doing it. It's brilliant. I love it. I wanted to kind of go back in time a little ways, maybe quite a few years back. How did you originally get involved in music? How did you, when did you start singing? Kind of what was that history of you as a metal singer?
Right. Okay. This could be a long answer. Well, I mean, I was brought up in a fairly musical family. Kind of my dad was a music agent in the 60s, 70s. So he used to be book bands at venues across the Midlands. He was their band. He's a band agent basically, and there's a whole kind of, back then, bands could probably do 2 or 3 shows a night, and do and kind of like do a whole structure of shows, kind of different social clubs, university circuits, and that's what he did. So I was introduced to the world of music at a very early age. I used to kind of like meet all these kind of crazy, strange individuals rocking up to our door, you know, being paid for the shows they'd done, you know, Steve Winwood, you know, Spencer Davis Group, you know, all these kind of like these big, you know, back then, you know, just people, you know, a whole diverse culture of different people, you know, kind of used to come to our doorstep, and that kind of introduced me to the opportunity that was a world that was real, and a world that was available. And, you know, some people's parents, you know, are, you know, they're working in an office, or they're an accountant, they work in a factory, and that's their world. You know, that's what they knew. But I knew beyond that world, and I knew there was a whole world of entertainment and music out there that was, a possibility. So I think that introduced me to that kind of like that world of music. My brothers were all involved in bands in the 60s as well. You know, they were all kind of like in different bands. You know, my brother was a bass player, vocalist. My other brother was a drummer, and my other brother was a bass player. And so they were involved in bands that kind of like were, you know, fairly prolific in the kind of like, yeah, the UK scene. You know, they did the college scene and supported bands like the Who and the Kinks and the Small Faces on that kind of college scene. You know, which was great. You know, my brother was in a band called the Applejacks, were a fairly big band in the Midlands, and they kind of like did okay. They did, in fact, they played the QE2 Maiden Voyage. You know, so to seeing them going off and doing their musical things again, that kind of like showed me that was a thing that was real, and an opportunity that I could potentially, you know, explore. But really, my first experience of being involved in music was being a vocalist in my local choir. I was a deputy head chorister, very much like Johnny Lydon, the Sex Pistols. I was a deputy head chorister at my local church, which I got involved with really because a friend of mine did it, and he said, "Look, you know, it's a bit shit, but you get paid really well. You know, if you do these weddings on a Saturday, you get like, you know, you get £5 a wedding, and there's usually three or four of them every week. So you get 20 quid. As a 13-year-old, in the early 80s, getting 20 quid a week was like a full-time salary, yeah. in many respects. So yeah, I did it. I thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of this, and I was terrible. I worked my way up to the ranks of deputy head chorister, but I wasn't that good. And but yeah, I got paid well. I enjoyed it, and it gave me a taste of performing in public. You know, it gave me a taste of standing there and doing a vocal thing in front of people. And I think that's what gave me the initial taste of being in music. I mean, ironically, I did this choral lead, a soprano kind of lead, as my voice was breaking, and it was horrible. It was horrible. It was terrible. It was all my family were there. The Lord Mayor of Solihull, which was the town I live in, he was there. Big crowd. I was terrible. And at that point, I left. I thought, I can't do this anymore. My voice is breaking. I can't be a soprano anymore. So I moved. So it was a few years after that, probably about five years after that. You know, I was probably about 13 then. Yeah, but it was until about 18, 19 when I got involved in the whole punk scene, the alternative punk scene, that I thought, well, you know, let's have it was one specific point in time. Yeah, I think it's sort of going to all these gigs down the Mermaid and seeing all these bands playing was kind of like really inspiring. But on my 21st birthday in particular, it was seeing Sacrilege play, my most favourite all-time band. So see them play on my 21st birthday, and that was a kind of light bulb moment where we kind of thought we all clicked into place. I thought, that is something that I want to do. And yeah, by this stage I was driving. I was a roadie for Bolt Thrower. I hadn't really thought about doing the vocals, and then Alan West, the original vocalist, left about 2 weeks before they were due in the studio. Well, about a month before they were due in the studio to record the album. So they kind of like, they got a few people in to kind of like, you know, audition to do the vocals. But the bottom line was I was their driver. I knew them. And no matter how rubbish I was, I'd have got the job anyhow, I think, at the end of the day. So I kind of almost got the job by default. There was no skill or innovation involved in my ability to do vocals. It was just the fact that, you know, I was the right person, the right place at the right time, and that's why I got the job. And it's all just kind of like rolled on from there, really. And that's how my life has kind of like spanned really for the past 35 years. It's just everything is just kind of like, you know, just jollied along, and I just fall into things as they happen, and it all kind of worked out okay in the long run. And I think the more you do things, the more you do it, the more kind of confident you get with your ability to do it, and the more you enjoy what you're doing as well, and that all kind of adds together. You know, I wouldn't say I'm a great front man. Well, I wouldn't say I'm a great vocalist, but I'd say I'm quite a good front man because you know, it's the way that you can engage with the audience that counts more so than possibly the way that you can deliver vocals. I'll never be Rob Halford. I'll never be Ronnie James Dio. I'll never be Ozzy Osbourne. But the way that I can engage with an audience and you know, feel what I'm doing and be real about what I'm doing is all that matters, and that's what counts at the end of the day. And yeah, so that's really, in a nutshell, how I got involved in being. I told you it's going to be a long answer. Oh, and that's how I got involved in being a vocalist in an extreme metal band, more by default and accident than by logic.
Interesting. Yeah. Was that conversation, you know, as you were the driver, you mentioned you were the driver. I mean, was that just a kind of one of those conversations was like, well, I'll do it? Or was it,
well, you know, I think it was more of a case of, well, why don't you have a go at doing it than me actually suggesting that I'd do it? You know? Yeah, I was quite happy being the driver. It was fine with me, that was, you know. And I probably could continue doing that to this day if that was the case. But yeah, it was a fact. I think they were pretty much in a position where they needed someone pretty desperately because they were due to record the first hour in 4 weeks' time, and I knew the words because I've been following them around. I've been driving them.
Well, I'm glad you took that chance and didn't look back.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, there was 3 or 4 other people that did audition, and I was there at the auditions, and I'd say that probably 1 or 2 of them were better than me, and I probably would have done it better. But at the end of the day, I got the job, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I'm glad that's how it worked out, and I would argue against. I think you're a fantastic vocalist, and especially in the underground death metal scene. I think you're one of the most influential, at least in my estimation, and very distinct. And it's always, when you hear an album, whether it's Bolt Thrower or Memoriam, like you're like, oh, that's Karl.
That's Karl. I think that's key to defining yourself as a vocalist. I'd say this to anyone that's aspiring to be a death metal vocalist or a vocalist of any type. You just got to be true to yourself, and develop your own style. Don't listen to other people and try and emulate other people. You got to just find a feel that it comes from within. It's something that I can't. People say, "Oh yeah, do your death metal voice." I say, "Well, I'm not a performing monkey. I can't just do it. It has to be, in the context of what I'm doing. It has to be with the music, and it's the music that inspires it and gives it that force and brings it to the front. So I'd say to any aspiring vocalist, don't try and copy anyone else. Just be yourself, and believe in what you're doing, and kind of like that confidence in your own ability will develop over time. And that's what keeps it going. That's what people all believe in, and that's what makes you and sets you apart from anyone else. Is your own confidence in your own ability to do what you do.
Yeah, nice. I like that. That being said, were there any vocalists, and maybe not so much, stylistically, but maybe just more maybe stylistically, but maybe not so much in terms of voice, but more in terms of being a front man, where there's certain vocalists that have inspired you?
Absolutely. There's a whole plethora of vocal. The vocal style is pretty unique. But as a front man, there are so many people out there that I've looked upon over the kind of my career, and I would draw influence from. Karl from Discharge was an incredible frontman vocalist. Yeah, but going beyond that, you know, kind of like Iggy Pop and the Stooges, you know, his performances were incredible. Ian Astbury from the Cult, you know, the way that he kind of like holds himself on stage is incredible. I'd really, really strongly say that my biggest and hugest influence and my hero, I'm pretty sure I'd be a fanboy if I ever met him, is Jazz Carman from Killing Joke. You know, the way that he sort of portrays himself as an individual, both on stage and off stage, and the intellect that he brings to the lyrics that he delivers is incredible. You know, I can only measure myself on a very small scale compared to him. But yeah, for me, there are so many, MC5. Yeah, there's so many these different kind of like these kind of old school bands that kind of like, you know, kind of like these frontmen that are kind of like, you know, incredible in their delivery. You know, I was involved. I was kind of like into, as I was growing up, I was into the old alternative punk scene. There's a band called Ausgang. I can't fail to mention one of my heroes, Ausgang. Max from Ausgang. Again, he had a way of engaging with the audience, which was incredible. You know, Tam from Sacrilege. So that was the catalyst. Again, I mentioned that before. Right. But all these bands have kind of like created that kind of like that mystique and that kind of like a way of engaging with an audience that's kind of like helped me and in my development. I've drawn on all these different references from what they do, and yeah, I've created me.
Yeah, excellent. So near future plans. I mean, you talked about, you know, you're currently writing new material for the next album, and I believe the band announced there are some shows lined up. Maybe some of that might be a little tentative at this point. I know things are kind of in flux in terms of pandemic, but
it's a busy time actually, because it's like since March 2020 we've done fuck all, apart from doing an album, obviously. So that's kept us quite busy. But gig wise, yeah, nothing's happened. But now, ironically, as the COVID case started rising in the UK, the freedom has arisen for us to start doing shows again. So all UK shows are back on track. So we are now building up or rehearsing towards doing Bloodstock, which is on August the 17th, I think it is, something like that. You know, it's in a month's time from now, 4 weeks from now, which is going to be a huge show. You know, I think it's sold out already.
I'm sure
people are just desperate to kind of like engage in live music. So we're really looking forward to playing that on the Saturday night. On the Sophie stage, second main support to Phil Campbell, the Bastard Sons, which they're great band as well. So it's always good to play Phil Campbell. We've done it once in the past, and yeah, it's like supporting Motorhead. I'll have that every day. So we're doing that on the Saturday night, and we're really looking forward to that. So we're currently in the process of rehearsing and getting our act together for that. We're going to do a little live warm-up show in a little pub in Birmingham the week beforehand, just because we haven't been on stage since March 2020. You know, so we just can't remember what it's like. So we want to do a little warm-up show to get the feel of being on stage again in that live environment, because it's all very good in your rehearsal room banging out your songs, but every 20 minutes you can stop and have a fag and you know, go outside. Right. You know, you can't do that when you're on stage. So we're going to do that. We have a warm-up show. I think that's scheduled for, you know, in Birmingham on the Tuesday before the show we're doing on the Saturday, and that's great. Yes, that's the start of. It almost feels like the start of freedom in many respects that we're looking forward to. And there are a few European shows that are tentative. Everything's up in the balance, really, regards to move to abroad. You know, we're on a little kind of lonely little Brexit-ridden island, and no one likes us. And it's very difficult to get beyond that at the moment, because there are different travel restrictions in place. So we are just really kind of like thinking forward about doing UK shows at this point in time, writing the new album, which we're busy at, and doing UK shows. So yeah, we've got a few UK shows. We've got that, obviously Bloodstock in August. Then we got Damnation Festival in Leeds, which is quite a big festival in November. In Oxford, we're playing with we're playing with Onslaught as well. Our old mates Onslaught in August. The week after, the week after. I need to forget about in London at the Camden Underworld. They're playing there. So we got about 5 or 6 UK shows. It's going to keep us busy between now and December. Of course, we're going to be writing the new album. I'm also working on a little project as well, a little studio-based project with Scott. We're doing a thing which is called the H Drive Project, which is just basically, it's a very electronic-based kind of, maybe kind of, how would I explain it? Kind of like soundtracky kind of like feel. It's very, very cinematic feel to what we're doing, you know. And so we're working on doing a little project with me and Scott. And that's kind of coming together quite nicely. So yeah, I'm filling my time, and of course I'm getting the occasional guest vocal slot, which I'm doing as well for a few bands. So yeah, things are picking up. Things are keeping quite busy and ticking over quite nicely. So yeah, it's all going well, and things. Yeah, obviously COVID. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully next year it'll all open up, and the whole European festival scene will be back rolling again, and then we'll be very busy and looking forward to it.
Yeah, excellent. And hopefully in the not too distant future, I know it'll probably be several years down the road, but hopefully Memoriam will be in the US as well, because I would love to see you live.
Well, yeah, I think you've got more chance of coming over to the UK, mate.
Yeah, I might have to. Yeah, maybe it's too late right now, and travel restrictions. But maybe next year I'll get bloodstock.
You should do it. It's a killer. I mean, for me, it's great because it's only about half an hour down the road from where I live, so it's brilliant. Oh, I can play the gig and I can be in bed for 1 o'clock. Great. But yeah, I mean, and as we're getting older, that's what we need. We have to take these into consideration. Traveling is the one that kills us. So the ability for us to logistically and financially to play shows beyond the initial environment of where we live, UK, Europe, I can't ever see that happening, to be perfectly honest. I can't. We get offers to play the US, South America, Australia, whatever. But really, financially and logistically, it's impossible. It's impossible to do it, to make it financially worthwhile. So, yeah, you stand more chance of coming to see us. Come over to Europe. Come and see us over.
I will. Yeah, we'll have a beer together. So I don't want to keep you all night. I know it's getting later there. So just one last question for you. As you probably know, my blog is Brews and Tunes. I pair craft beer with heavy metal music. So it's Friday night, Karl Willetts is hanging out at home. What beer do you crack open and what album do you spin?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question to finish with. Absolutely. Well, yeah, I would say that there are 3 major UK craft beer producers of my choice. Okay. So the first one would be a brewer based in Cheltenham that are called Daya Brewing Company, and they are by far my favorite brewing company on the planet. You know, they do a beer called Steady Rolling Man, and that is my beer of choice. Steady Rolling Man is what I am, and it's just sublime. Every time I have that, it's always killer. You know, but anything they do, anything Daya, is killer. So that's my number 1 brewer of choice. There's also a kind of like a brewer based up in Manchester called Cloudwater that do some really interesting progressive kind of like brews as well. So they are I'd say number 2, alongside a brewer called Verdant, who are based down in Cornwall in the UK. So those 3, they fulfill all my criteria of beer. So I'd be on a Friday night, any time in my life, I'd be supping on one of those 3, preferably a Steady Rolling Man from Daya. And I'd say my music of choice these days, I mean, it's been a beautiful sunny day today here in the UK. And I think what I've drawn reference from is Killing Joke. My go-to, I've mentioned him before, Jazz Coleman, my go-to band of all time will always be Killing Joke. And I listened to a few tracks off the new album, Pylon, the other day, and they still have resonance to the world we live in today, and they still make it mean the world to me. So yeah, it'll always be Killing Joke and Daya will be my 2 preferences of choice there for your answer.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. I love it. So, Karl, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I really enjoyed this. This was great.
I really enjoyed it as well, mate. So thanks, Victor. Thanks for your time, and best of luck with what you're doing there with this kind of podcast. It's a great idea, and I've really enjoyed doing it. So all the best to you. Thanks. Excellent. And everyone that's spent the time listening to this as well. Here's to you. Sláinte. Everyone, enjoy the music, the metal, and the beer.